Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Nature of Predators Book 2. If you are new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 18. Memory Transcription Subject, Tassie, by some scientist. Date Standardized Human Time, March 20th, 2160. There was no doubt that General Naltor, who eavesdropped on my conversation with Nulia during the feast, had connected the dots between Dustin and the group responsible for bombing Ulsh. When the Gojit sociologist mentioned exterminators, I didn't question it, assuming it was some sort of pest control for humans in cities. Now, I wasn't so sure the word didn't carry a more nefarious slant, coming from aliens. It couldn't be that they exterminated sapient lifeforms that didn't align with their ideology. That couldn't constitute an entire profession. It just wouldn't be something Dustin would have joined up with in his quest to study animals. I hope the human has the sense to not mention that he worked with these people, and also that Naltor doesn't raise the topic now. Zolk's head feathers are practically twitching with how hungry he is to pick apart Dustin's answer. "What do you mean by exterminators?" the Tissia asked. And the alien didn't continue of his own volition. "Please give me a chance to explain the full picture before you jump down my throat." The human tipped the disposable cup back, trying to suck down the few droplets of water. "The Exterminators Guild in Federation space. They're an organization devoted to removing all predators from a planet. The way they do this is by, burning them alive to dispose of the contaminants. Holy hearse, that's so awful that it's unfathomable. That's how Dustin started his career in xenobiology. Humans are predators. There have to be exterminators that want him dead." Betrayal gleamed in Naltor's eyes. "Their job is to give animals the most painful death possible, to eradicate them. Why would anyone work for an organization like that?" Dustin lowered his eyes. Zolk, the reason my friends are looking at me like that is because I worked a part-time job with them as a teenager." "It's almost like you want to be a martyr." Zolk's beak wired itself shut, a livid grimace on his expression. He seemed to weigh given the humans over his soldiers. "You were involved with the people who harmed us." "Whoa, look, I joined because I was trying to stop them. The mere thought of baby animals, nests doused in gasoline, screaming it gave me nightmares, to be honest. I thought maybe I could show them other ways to handle animals and give them some true ecological understanding, like, night prowlers, a predator on Skullgur's dark side. They're not mindless killers that exist for morning vendel. They mate for life. They bray to express loneliness, and nobody fecking asked. Stay on topic. Like why you think that you can change people who bombed us like mindless fecking killers. Humans have tried to fix things and show these former Federation species a better way. We've succeeded, to an extent, prying the extraneous duties they had away. Some extermination officers have become pest control, or shuttered their doors, thanks to our efforts at education. It's hard to explain in short, but these underling races were conquered and brainwashed into being like this. There was so much more to the exterminators than what I just said. Now isn't the time to take it slow, or worry about worsening things. Sensing the Tissia's growing rage at the vague explanations, I placed myself between Dustin and Zolk despite my tremors of fear. "Explain all of it, Dustin. Please, for our sake." "Right. I'm sorry. What I'm saying is they did much more than torch animals. They had tons of influence and resources. They were local heroes. They acted as sort of a police force, locking up people who didn't behave prey-like. They went as far as monitoring school children or branding dissidents who questioned the dogma. The reason the public thought burning predators was so necessary was that they called murders predator attacks. The oh-so-peaceful prey were incapable of such violence, so no matter how improbable it was, blame it on a predator." "What the feck?" Naltor exclaimed. "Wouldn't that mean the real murderers were roaming free? You're telling me that if someone was gutted in a skyscraper, that assumed it was an animal? That makes zero sense." "I know. Believe me, I know. We have to live with these people getting called on us just for walking down the street. I could tell you plenty of stories about how they threaten refugees like me. Zero repercussions for excessive use of force, even if they don't kill you. They came to my school and held all the human kids at flamethrower point and I still wanted to help change them. Candidly, I would have chopped off an arm if it meant I could study alien animals. Nobody had, not in any scientific way, so it was unexplored territory. Zolk narrowed his eyes. You've explained why they'd burnt our nests and told a wonderful tale of persecution, but you haven't explained why they had bombs. That relates to their part of colonization, something that'll make more sense with a full picture. When the Federation would colonize a new planet, they'd want to eliminate all predatory infestations ahead of settlers. Because a world is teeming with wildlife, they'd do this from orbit with some antimatter. Shit, when we expanded our woods for our first far-off colony, the Mazics, an ally that genuinely thought that we were helping, offered to bomb the planet so that it was suitable for habitation. Are you saying that this ship was looking for Ifrana as a potential colony? Yes. My theory is they were some kind of scouting expedition. Bisons, to them, were an infestation to be removed, with whatever they had at their disposal. I know because an entire extermination fleet came to my home and wiped out 1 billion humans by that logic. If I may, look what they did to our metropolises. Dustins pointed to his holopad, and after some consideration, Zog passed it to him. My mind was reeling from what I'd just learned about the lunacy on other planets. Torching wildlife species with the goal of bringing about their extinction would, for starters, lead to massive ecological consequences. Beyond the fact that it was needless cruelty, animals might not have our mental capacity, but they had pain receptors just like we did. How could they think that we were monsters for catching fish to survive, yet carry out something so senseless? How could Dustin and humanity see any of the Federation as salvageable after everything that happened to them? 1 billion dead. I knew there were attempts to slaughter the Terrans and that they were nearly wiped out because of hatred, but I thought they'd managed to stave off the worst. Earth won the war, but at what cost? How are they not resentful like the Tessia? The human's eyebrows slanted downwards, sorrow evident on his features. Nalter and I drifted closer to Zolk, as the Tessia Coast Guard officer and his men watched news footage from the time. There was footage captured from hundreds of miles away, live rolls of city being leveled from the stars. It was the first time I'd seen pity on the nomads' features, as they recognized themselves. Horror shot through my own chest and spewed from Tessia's beaks, as we saw images of blue-feathered avian race, seemingly a crash-landed soldier, shooting a human baby in a stroller. The footage cut to the rubble of once grand metropolis and husks of skyscrapers, before showing blackened corpses, ending with rescue efforts to dig out any survivors and rows of burned victims. Humanity understands your position more than anyone, Dustin sighed. We get what it's like to feel alone and to be attacked without reason, knowing there's little hope to defend yourself. So many lives lost, culture evaporated, for no reason. We grasp the fear of wondering whether your species will exist tomorrow. Naltor folded his flippers in front of his blubber, steaming. How can you just forgive them? You just told us the blue birds are part of your coalition. Crap. How can you be so optimistic in light of everything that's happened? I choose to focus on the good in people. All people. I choose to have hope. The ones who hurt us were the victims of the Federation's iron fist. And maybe that offers some closure. A way to find peace in our hearts and let go of the past, so it doesn't continue to stain our future. You think the monsters who bombed us were victims with good in them? Zolk spat. I think they weren't always monsters, and that many of them thought they were committing a positive deed, warped as it was in actuality. I'm saddened that they were so poisoned by hatred, and that it hurt us both. The Tessia have been poisoned by hate for generations. Isn't it wretched? Aren't you miserable? Feck, you have some nerve lobbing a question like that at us. It is the truth, Zolk. I'm willing to die in the name of the truth and peace. Someone has to be. As Naltor had become incensed by what he'd learned, I felt numb. There was 0 positive points that I'd seen so far, in what had been the galaxy's status quo for centuries. No matter how naive and optimistic the Selmore general thought I was, even my spirits were tanking. I wasn't sure how I could rebound from atrocity after atrocity, and I wondered whether Dustin's commitment to the truth was doing us any favors. It was taking years of my life, that was for certain. The observant part of my mind that dissected statements was still kicking, however. Zeroing in on underling races. What happened to the founders that victimized humanity's aggressors, abducting and conquering them as I recalled it? Knowing how right Naltor was about the threats aliens could pose, and how much Zok wants someone to blame, it might be useful to ask. I need to say something to snap out of this funk. I forced my beak open. Dustin, what happened to the founders, as you called them? It might be helpful for Zok and all of us to know who they are, whether they're part of the Sapien Coalition.
The Fossil and the Colchians, both are quarantined to their planets and stripped of their military. We ensured there wouldn't be curing predators and gentling prey again, the xenobiologist answered. We surrounded the Fossil homeworld with a debris cage and took permanent control of the orbital defenses by the Colchians' world. They haven't been forgiven in the ways the others have. Them and the Oxal. The people-eating carnivores, Zolk.
The Tazia blinked in slow motion.
Yes.
Tassie mentioned that fun fact. I must ask why you brought the Heliska to Irana, if you knew that we'd remind her of the Oxal.
Politics. A poor but truthful answer. There was a lot of opposition to our mission, and some herbivores were disgruntled that we didn't include one of them. Leotel, a rather vocal critic of our plans, eager to seize any opportunity, accused us of censoring parts of our allies that we didn't like. It forced our hand a bit. Hallie performed well in testing, so we were hopeful.
I see. The elders appreciate your honesty, but they would like to know what you could possibly offer the Tazia. To add on to the words with my own, everything around you sounds like a clusterfuck.
Derision flashed in Naltor's eyes. What do you know? I guess I can agree with these nomad pricks on something.
I shudder to think how we'll explain any of this to the public, I murmured. How we can in earnest convince them to embrace aliens after all we've learned.
Dustin, but he stole up. It breaks my heart to hear you so dejected, Tassie. All of you are right to be upset and concerned. For the Tazia and the interests of all Bisoms. I can't do anything to fix or change the past. My meager promise is that you won't stand alone in the future, whatever challenges may come. We will continue to give our all to forging a different galaxy. There is no greater friend than humanity.
Zolk adjusted a small strip of metal by his ear, listening to some voice on the other end. I wondered how many of the judgment calls had truly been his, or whether he was deferring to his leader's decisions when he decided to hear Dustin's side of the story. I believed that had been his choice. It hadn't sounded like he'd been heeding some instructions from a higher up the chain of command when he ordered us to turn back from the lighthouse. Cameras were pointed at the chair meant for interrogating the alien, suggesting that these elders had an easier view of the occurrence. I wasn't sure what to make of Zolk, other than my appeal to gather all the facts and not attack a person who came in genuine friendship had landed. If the Coast Guard's leader had allowed his subordinates to enact revenge on Dustin, I could imagine what state he'd be in now. He was a reasoned individual, and also one who'd empathized with Earth's plight, no matter how much he put the Tasia's interests first. Maybe the answers over what prompted the strike on Ulsh, unthinkable as they were, had given him some closure. Not understanding why the aliens attacked him and having lived in constant fear of the heavens must have driven the nomads mad. I'm glad the last one didn't know, in a way. FAI never would have sent out our probes, and all Bisoms would have been robbed of the opportunity to learn about the star system. It was beautiful and transcendent to visit space, even looking back in hindsight, knowing what ugliness surrounded us.
On behalf of the Tazia nomads, we have decided to accept your offer of friendship. You are free to go, Zolk sighed. If you'd like to see the wreckage, any of you, that's very easy. It's right outside this door.
The wall to the far side parted with a loud creaking noise, likely triggered by someone observing the scene. The shipwreckage caught our gazes. With its proximity and sorry state, battered bits of hull were strewn apart, with some compartments more intact than others. The outline of missile impact was visible on the near side, from the nomad shooting it down. General Naltor hurried over to the corroding, blackened bits of metal, eager to identify what sort of weaponry alien vessels possessed. I helped the human to his feet and walked beside him until he crouched beside the Selmar. The primate's eyes darted around, checking that Tazia were out of earshot, before opening his mouth for a subtle message to Naltor.
Please get word to Nulia in the Murley Huddledom as soon as you can. She's not safe here. She needs to get off-world before the Tessia tell anyone about what the Gojits did, Dustin hissed.
The Soulmaw remained perfectly still.
I'll get word to Lastman. It might take time, but I agree we can't let anything happen to her. Great. Thank you, Naltor. Don't mention it. This is becoming a weekly occurrence, me saving your asses, after some part of your psychohistory comes out. Are you sure you didn't mind control me into going along with your delusions? I didn't know such thing. Heliska is the one who chipped you.
Zulk approached, with the leery guards tailing behind. The human shushed his banter with a smirk. Somehow not dispirited by charred wreckage right before him, I turned my gaze past the ruins of our true first contact, and caught a peek at the city the nomads had hidden beneath the metal overhang built of scraps of alien technology. No outsider bison were allowed to view what was within Tessia's settlements in the past, so this level of transparency was novel. Digitized screens with holographic projections were all over their buildings, along with what appeared to be robotic servitors. This bison nation was much more advanced than they had ever let on.
This is Spring's Breath, a city which was most populated during the spring festivals. We migrate from city to city as a sort of seasonal pilgrimage, Zulk remarked. Right now it is mostly manned by the military. It's the site at the wreck, and it's close to the lighthouse.
Dustin stood slowly, turning to face the Tessia.
I would love to learn more about the history of your migratory habits, and everything about those festivals. The impacts it must have in your culture make me giddy. I'm no sociologist like my squad mate, but even I can spend years learning about your customs. Perhaps another time we can discuss these things. Right now, I'm much more interested in where we go from here, now that we're trying to move forward in diplomacy. Isn't it obvious? We return to Lastman and tell the public the truth, together. We make sure that everyone in the Sapien Coalition knows what was done to the Tessia.
I stiffened with concern. Respectfully, I don't know how we can ask the public to handle this. It'll incite mass panic. All of this is horrifying.
That's something we'll have to plan together, Naltor interjected. Dustin doesn't want to play a part in hiding things from the people, and neither do I. This entire excursion has given me a new perspective on how infuriating a lack of transparency is. Bisons deserve the truth. I have faith in them to handle it, just like all of you have stepped up to the occasion. We need their trust to save Avrana, and I've never been more serious about anything in my life than I am about repairing this world, the human said.
I don't want them to feel alone and unsafe. I don't want their hope and about all the wonderful promises you've made to die.
Like mine is on life support, I thought silently.
Neither do I, Tassie. It's up to all of us to give them a path forward and a reason to carry on. We need to be strong for every soul on this planet.
I'll try for what it's worth. I believe in you, your people, your mission. We just have to make others see who we really are.
A nerd, Naltor interjected.
For fuck's sakes, we're here having a moment.
Well, you know what I'm having? A headache. I think I've had enough of all of this for one day. Where can a man get some sleep around here?
Zulk tilted his head.
They'll take you to the local inn. While I get your boat unimpounded and make preparations to return with you. We can leave after you've rested up. Let's go.
While curiosity would normally prompt me to explore what was, in essence, an alien culture, I couldn't feel any drive to roam Spring's Breath. Much like Naltor, stress was building up a massive amount of tension in my skull. I'd love to lay down and try to get some sleep, though I wasn't sure if I'd be able to stop thinking about all that we learned today. With my resilience to negativity waning, I focused as best as I could on what we needed to do. I hoped that I could remain strong enough to steer Avrana into a post-alien era. For all of our sakes. End of chapter. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.